This year I'm training for my first marathon, and that's a big goal. Like, this is a big mountain for me, as the longest run I've ever done was a 10K. But while I'm doing this marathon, I'm also still lifting in the gym about 5 times a week. Actually, let me pull that back more. It's more like 4 times a week, but one of the days is a very big conditioning experimental day of trying out different conditioning methods for various goals, because I come from a CrossFit background, and actually I come from like a vast background of different training styles, philosophies, and modalities. Like, I've trained CrossFit, I've trained bodybuilding, powerlifting, Olympic weightlifting, and one of the essence from CrossFit that I really do love is the odd object. So if have ever been in the CrossFit space, playing around and training with odd objects like yokes and sandbags and doing those type of stuff and mixing some type of strength component, grunt work with some type of aerobic component, whether it be on a rower, on a bike, skier, running, any of those type of modalities is super fun. And so something that I'm really big this year is hybrid training. And that's because the last couple of years, month, I've been really trying to figure out what is my training style, what is my next goal, and do I want to train. And I put my big Masogi, my big goal, my big year defining fitness goal for this year to be prepping for this marathon, because it's something I said I never would ever do. And it makes me like clear the back of my throat, and like my stomach kind of like falls a little bit, like I'm actually saying this and I'm actually doing this. And it's scary. It's a lot of my emotions are wrapped around this, but there's so much to learn. There's so much that I'm going to gain from this. And I really want to talk about my marathon prep this year and how I'm doing it in a way that's a hybrid athlete approach. And so with that is your lifting and your endurance training can coexist. They can work together, like, mutually. They're not mutually exclusive. But it comes back to a lot of intelligent programming, how you structure things from your weekly running mileage and volume, say as long while complementing it with your training volume, intensity, and all that stuff too, right? You want to make sure everything is complements each other. So if you were to think about it as like a conductor, and there's a whole symphony and there's hundreds of people, and you're trying to get the flow, the harmonic note to come out, everyone's playing, and just some people are like, their voices, their levels are just kind of like lowering the dimmer while the others are like peaking, and you just fluidly move back and forth. That is very much how hybrid training is going to be for me this year, and I'll share document that along the way. So for anybody else out there who are worried about doing both at the same time, you can't. You really can't. And there's a lot of research to support the fact that you're able to do both as well, but you have to do it intelligently and be able to do it in a recoverable manner, so then the amount of volume you're doing from both, you're able to recover from it and support it from a sleep perspective, from your nutrition perspective, because if you're about to be exerting that much energy in a lot of those different modalities, you have to be able to support yourself through nutrition and recovery, and then make sure that you are training at a volume at the dosage of from your running, or anything, whatever it is, endurance, and also when it comes to the lifting side, that way you minimize injury, because the last thing you want to do is get hurt. And I think that's where people do kind of like go wrong, is that they think they can do everything all at once. And the thing is, you can do anything, but you can't do everything. And so you got to pick your battles, and there's seasons of life, just like season of life where you are more head down grinding, season of life where you can kind of poke your head out and reap the fruits of your labor, but you have to periodize everything as well. So you can't do everything, but you can do anything. And so you got to be able to manipulate the variables and the fluidity of it all while you're going about it. And what hybrid training is, it's another term is like contrast training, or in as a scientific jargon, it's concurrent training. So it's just different type of modalities that don't really transfer over to one another. So for example, say I am lifting and I am doing a lot of upper body work, I'm lifting for strength, for power, things like that, and then now on the flip scale, I am running, I'm swimming, I'm biking, things like that. So I can sure as shit tell you, me, how much I row, how much I bent, squat, and like deadlift, that's not going to transfer over to my ability to increase my aerobic or lactate threshold, my runs, improve my marathon time, things like that. But I want to be able to do both because I like that variety in my training. I like having purpose that way and a mission and having some type of physical challenge like that. I'm trying not to sneeze, I'm sorry. But it's fun and it just keeps my training always varied and different. And it's like me tapping back into my root of CrossFit, which is where I fell in love with all this stuff, where it showed me I don't have to just fall into one bucket and train one specific way. I can do each one, but it's just a slightly different than CrossFit. And so that's how I'm about to be approaching a lot this year, from my marathon prep while doing it also with my lifting and training, and making sure the big ones also is making sure that you're spacing them apart, because and if that way you are able to recover between the two. And like I know something that many people are like confused about is like the interference effect. Like, hey, is if I start running a lot, do a lot of conditioning, is it going to affect my gains? Not really. So the only time there's been a couple of meta-analysis and reviews that came out recently that doesn't really affect, even depending on, they looked at like frequency, exercise order and selection, intensity, volume, things like that. It doesn't really affect that much up until like if you get to a very high volume of like your like elite level, Olympic level like training volume, and maybe it can start diminishing and reducing some of your like maximal explosive strength from a neural perspective. But really, for most people, you're fine. And as a hard truth, most people just aren't fit enough to really too much worried about that. But the thing where it gets kind of people is where the recovery side of the coin does come into play a lot. So you really can do both. You just got to be smart with it, have fun with it, and make sure that you are able to recover from it. And yeah, you can do it. So hybrid training, contrast training, concurrent training, whatever term you want to use, have fun with it. And both can coexist in your training. You just gotta periodize it, find the fluidity, the harmonic flow between all of it. And there's some seasons where you will be peaking more in endurance, and some seasons you'll be peaking more in lifting, and both will complement each other. Especially for runners, you need to be able to have like strong tendons, strong tissues to be able to absorb the impact and be able to withstand all the forces when you're running. And from an energy systems and physiological perspective as well, you're able to recover better from your lifts by increasing mitochondrial density and capitalization, meaning you're able to get more oxygen to your muscles and your body works a little bit more efficiently by producing energy and recovering, so you can push harder in your lifting. So that's where I'm going to round this out about what hybrid training is. I'm excited to share more about this stuff with you guys throughout the year. And if you guys are doing it too, let me know. And we can kind of support each other. So again, thank you guys so much for listening. And please hit that subscribe button so you can always get notifications when these videos come up. And I will see you guys in the next one.